Hello everyone, back tuning in to today's second video. So we're already on 5-day forecast. You can find that on the home page. Just scroll down a little bit. It's underneath the link ads. There's also a written version. You get to that via the button at the top of the page. It says written forecast. It's going to be quite a changeable 5 days coming up. But for England and Wales, we're going to have a very warm weekend. For Scotland and Northern Ireland, it's going to be windy and potentially quite wet on Saturday. Next week, it's all changed again as we bring down much cooler northerly winds. So you want to know about next week's weather, or the next 5 days worth of weather, which takes into start next week. Check out 5-day forecast if you'd like to do that. This is the 40-day look ahead from the Beijing Climate Centre. So we're going to go out into the start of September with this, going into the first month of statistical autumn with this update. Of course, the weather doesn't define itself into these very set periods, so they are just statistical seasons really, from the 1st of June to the 31st of August. That is statistical summer, but of course you're going to get summer weather going on in September and back in May as well. So this takes inside of September. We're going to have a look at 500 with our high anomalies, so we're going to have a look at corresponding temperature and precipitation anomalies that go with that as well. But before I get on with that, just to say about the ads, there's links to articles on the page. So have a browse for widgets and click through the links. You'll be helping us to pay for our website. Thanks very much for doing that. There's also video ads, most pages. They own that content. We watch it, close back up again. It does all help to pay the ads.com. So we'll start off 500 millibar height anomalies for the next 40 days. These are broken into 10-day periods. As I say, we'll have a look at corresponding temperature and precipitation anomalies that to go with these. So we're going to start off with the first 10 days, if you like. This is going from the 1st through to the 10th of August. Now, what you need to know with these charts, that blue is extrapolating to low pressure, and yellow, orange, red, the brighter colours always extrapolate to high pressure. Essentially, it's temperature at 500 millibars, but we extrapolate that to high and low pressure. So for the coming 10 days, the 10 days that we're currently in, we've got a trough of low pressure centre to the north of Scotland, a ridge down to the southwest of the country. This low pressure backs off into the Atlantic as well, and the jet stream is coming through the country as well. So this does look like quite a changeable 10-day period. We're not going to get a drier spell down in the south over the weekend. It'll turn quite warm, but overall for the 10 days as an anomaly, this does look quite changeable, quite unsettled, with the risk of showers or long spells of rain, particularly in the north. The next 10-day period is going from the 11th through to the 20th of August, also looking unsettled with this one. We've got an area of above average heights around Greenland and a trough of low pressure underneath it. So that looks a bit grim, actually. That would be quite unsettled indeed through that middle 10 days of the month. I think we could expect further showers, if not longer spells of rain. And I would have thought temperatures are likely to be quite disappointing as well, because the wind would be coming down from the north with that one. But then it's all changed again as we go through to the final 10 days of August. This is from the 21st through to the 30th. We start to see above average heights beginning to extend in across the country. So the centre is actually out in the Atlantic, but it is starting to extend in across the UK. That means the jet stream is probably doing something a bit like that. So this is an improving picture. I'm not sure it would necessarily be a heat wave type scenario, because the flow is still generally coming in off the Atlantic, still coming from west, northwesterly type direction. So I suspect the weather is settling down. It's probably turning drier, and temperatures will probably be lifting up a bit, but it's not a heat wave, just lifting up to near normal temperatures. Nevertheless, that is quite a pleasant end to August during that final 10 days of the month. And then, as promised, we go through to the first 10 days of September. So this is going from the 31st of August through to the 9th of September. This is days 31 through to 40. And what we see with this one is that we're building above average heights in right over top of the country. So that's high pressure sitting over top of the UK and extending a little bit to the east, which means the flow is going up something like that. We will be bringing the air up from the south in that scenario. So that does imply the chance of a very warm start to September, autumn, statistical autumn 2016 beginning, potentially on a very warm and dry note. Now, I've explained this in videos before, very often early September is a period that has a lot of dry and warm weather. It's called the old wise summer. It's one of those singularities that occurs very frequently in the UK, but the first week, 10 days, sometimes first 14 days of September have a lot of dry and very warm weather. And then autumn tends to kick in more towards the equinox, when we tend to get a period of gales and cooler weather and wetter weather around the 21st, 23rd of the month. But those first days of September very often are warm and dry, and that is a classic situation that the Beijing Climate Centre is going for there. Of course, it doesn't necessarily mean it'll be right, because some years we deviate. We don't always get the dry and warm start to September, but more often than not, that does happen. So let's see how the temperatures are doing for the next 40 days. This is going from days 1 through to 10, and which is the 1st through 10th of August, coming out cooler than average. I think that really makes sense. Although I say it will be a bit warmer down in the south over the weekend, so that will have a moderating effect to some degree. Excuse me. We go through today's 11 to 20, and with this one, we're looking at the period from the 11th through 20th of August, and again, cooler than average temperature. So the first half, at least, of August, generally looking quite cool with the temperatures. Then we go through to the end of the month. This is the 21st through to the 30th for days 31 to 30, days 21 to 30, I should say. And the temperature anomaly is beginning to recover, so it is turning a bit warmer there. Again, I don't necessarily think it would be a heat wave, but it is turning a little bit warmer as we go through to the final 10 days of the month. And then we go through to that period inside of September. This is days 31 to 40. Takes us from the 31st of August through to the 9th of September. And yes, we're going significantly warmer than average then. The temperature scale on the side, and it's going up to around 1 to 2 degrees above average. So a significantly warm start to September being seen there. Precipitation for the next 40 days looks like this. The coming 10 days generally comes out significantly wetter than average, as does the next 10 days. So the first half of August looking pretty grim, you have to say. Temperatures coming out cooler than average, precipitation coming out above average. It's a pretty grim first half to August up to the 20th. But then we go through to the final 10 days. This is the pressure starts to build in across the country, and as the temperatures are recovering and pressure is recovering, so precipitation is going back towards average, maybe a little bit on the drier side. And then you'll not be surprised to see what happens for the final 10 days into those first 10 days of September, as we build pressure right over the country and lift the temperatures up. So yes, we go drier than average as well. So it looks like we've got a classic situation here, which is fairly unsettled, quite cool and pretty wet for August, and then we get through to September, and what you know, pressure's building in, lifting up the temperatures, and we go drier than average as well. I say this is a fairly classic type scenario that we get in the UK, that you get to September and you tend to get a spell of drier, warmer conditions in the early part of the month. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean, just because it happens a lot, it doesn't necessarily mean that the model has this right. So that's the first thing to say. All long-range forecasting is highly experimental. These models are pushing the envelope, so not to be relied upon. And we may get a deviation to what we often see, which is that warmer, drier spell in early September. So wait and see how it plays out. That is what Beijing Climate Centre is going for this week's update, and we'll see what it's doing when we do next week's update. Friday, we've got JMA Friday, so we'll see what the Japanese and CFSV2 models are predicting to the end of August. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching.